U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away on September 18th at the age of 87. The liberal icon and jurist served for 27 years after being appointed by then-President Bill Clinton. She was the second woman to serve on the High Court after Sandra Day O'Connor. Her body lay in repose under the portico at the Supreme Court building on Wednesday and Thursday. President Trump, wearing a black COVID mask, paid his respects at the court on Thursday, but was loudly booed by demonstrators. The president is expected to name his nominee to replace the late Justice Ginsburg on Saturday. Here with analysis of the SCOTUS vacancy and potential nominees and the process of selecting and confirming a Supreme Court justice, I'm joined by spokesman for the Judicial Crisis Network, Gayle Trotter, and law professor at the University of Notre Dame, Snead. Thank you both for being here. Now, given the current composition of the court and John Roberts as the new swing vote, how will this new Supreme Court nominee affect the future of the court? Gayle, I'll start with you.
Sure. It is very important, this nomination. This is something that candidate Donald Trump campaigned on when they did exit polls after the 2016 election. It showed that the majority of people who voted for Donald Trump cared primarily about Supreme Court vacancies. And we have seen that the court is now where so many of these battles play out. And this has been a switch to create the Supreme Court into a super legislature instead of respecting the proper role of the Supreme Court. So this is an opportunity for President Trump to deliver a third time on his campaign promise to put fair, independent, excellent jurists on the Supreme Court who will be faithful to the Constitution and not try to put their personal preferences into these Supreme Court cases instead of following the will of the people and upholding the Constitution as well.
Carter, President Trump has said that he will announce a nominee on Saturday, that his pick will be a woman. How important is it to choose a woman for this position? I mean, could he have chosen a man? Should he?
Well, the importance is political, it seems to me. Obviously, we're as close to an election as possible within which you could fill this vacancy. I think there is enough time to fill a vacancy, by the way. Obviously, it matters a lot to our current moment. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was an iconic female justice, and I think it would be politically difficult for the president to replace her with a male justice. And so he I think based on political considerations, made the judgment that it made sense to include a woman on the court. But I will say it's really important from the perspective of the conservative legal movement to have an extraordinary figure who has the gravitas of the women members of the Supreme Court who are appointed by Democrat nominees. And the individuals under consideration are all excellent, and it sure looks like that's what's going to happen, that there will be, for the first time, a modern judicial conservative woman on the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yeah. Now, Amy Coney Barrett is at the top of Trump's list in all the reports. She is a Trump appointee, was confirmed to the 7th U.S. District Court of Appeals in 2017. This week, a headline ran, and it read, "How charismatic Catholic groups like Amy Coney Barrett's People of Praise inspired The Handmaid's Tale." Now, the article was later amended, stating that it was a different group, not the People of Praise, that had inspired The Handmaid's Tale. But they continued this narrative that Barrett is part of some cult-like type group, quote, that teaches that men have authority over their wives. Carter, you've known Amy Barrett for a long time at Notre Dame. Barrett's not commented on whether she's even affiliated with this group.
Right.
You know, her family apparently in the past had been members. I know some family members are not. I've spoken to some of them. They are no longer members of this group. What's going on here?
Well, I'll tell you, if the proposition is that the people, there's a lot of ifs in this, or a lot of if premises in this comment, but if it's true that they're members of People of Praise, and if it's true that People of Praise teach that women should be subjugated by men, Jesse and Amy Barrett are terrible members of People of Praise, because Amy Barrett has never been subjugated by anyone in her entire life. And if subjugation means placing someone in the highest position of authority that a woman lawyer can be in, then maybe we need to redefine what that term means. But no, look, I live in South Bend, Indiana. People of Praise is a fixture here in South Bend. I know plenty of people that are involved in People of Praise. They're all wonderful people. They run probably the best school in our region. They run two other schools, one in Falls Church and one in Minneapolis, where secular families send their kids to these schools where they are happily educated by folks who are associated with People of Praise in some cases. And the idea that there's some sinister cult that these people are involved in is really laughable if you spend even any time at all in the communities in which these folks live.
Yeah, and I discovered this week, Carter, that I've actually known a man for like 20 years who's been a member of this group. These are the most normal. It's a charismatic prayer group. I mean, to make it into anything more than that is ridiculous. And your comments about Amy Coney Barrett's independence are echoed by her family and friends that I talked to this week here in New Orleans. Now, during her confirmation hearing in 2017, judiciary liberals went after Amy Barrett for her Catholic faith. Listen.
Do you consider yourself an Orthodox Catholic?
I am a Catholic, Senator Durbin. If you're asking whether I take my faith seriously and I'm a faithful Catholic, I am, although I would stress that my personal church affiliation or my religious belief would not bear on the discharge of my duties as a judge.
I think in your case, Professor, when you read your speeches, the conclusion one draws is that the dogma lives loudly within you. And that's of concern.
The comment that launched 1,000 memes and 2,000 coffee mugs. What do you expect from Democrats this time out, assuming Amy Coney Barrett is the nominee, Gayle? Will they raise the religious specter again, or is that politically toxic at this point, particularly on the eve of a presidential election?
I'm so glad you shared those comments, because this was rank religious bigotry, and people of all faiths or no faiths understand that that is completely unacceptable under our Constitution. And they were trying to do whatever they could do to disparage this wonderful mother of 7. 2 of her children are adopted from Haiti. 1 is special needs, and she is a role model to young women around the country. She is what one person said, scary smart. She is a top legal mind. She's been a professor at some of the best legal institutions. She has committed over and over many decisions as a judge on the Circuit Court of Appeals to be faithful to the Constitution. So you can be sure that the Democrats are going to throw everything they possibly can at her. And that article you mentioned about the People of Praise is just an opening salvo.
Carter, it has been reported that Kamala Harris is going to take the lead in opposing Amy Coney Barrett. She is on the Judiciary Committee. Would it be wise for her as a running mate in the Democratic Party to, throw religious bombs here in the middle of a judiciary hearing?
Well, it would sure seem to be in tension with her support of a Democrat candidate for president who embraces his Catholicism as a rationale for his candidacy. Joe Biden showcases his religious background and his religious commitments. It's going to be a tough needle to thread to try to attack Judge Barrett, who, by the way, let's just be clear, under oath in 2017 said, and we heard it just then, and she said it multiple times, that it is she will not draw upon her religious beliefs or her normative commitments or her political ideology in her work as a judge. That's not what judges are to do, and she, in her analysis, stays tethered to the text, history, and tradition of the Constitution or the plain meaning of a statute. It's actually those who have a more liberal or progressive judicial philosophy whose personal views matter most, because they draw upon those in their interpretation of the law. So by asking these questions, you're essentially asking her, did you perjure yourself in 2017? Were you lying to us? And why would you ask her if she's lying? Are you asking her if she's a liar because she's Catholic, because she's a member of People of Praise, because she's a woman? Why would you ask someone effectively, were you lying when you told us that was the case? And there have been 600 cases that Judge Barrett has participated in since she's been on the bench. Is there any evidence at all that she's drawn upon her faith instead of the plain language of a statute or the original meaning of the Constitution? I've seen no evidence of that at all. And if Kamala Harris's behavior in past indicates how she'll behave now, I think she will overplay her hand.
Yeah, I think politically that's a big mistake to set up what's essentially a religious test here, whether it's applied to Amy Coney Barrett or Barbara Lagoa, who's another Catholic who is on Trump's list. Now, she was confirmed by a wide margin, 80-15, on the 11th Circuit Court in 2019. What do you think of her potential as a nominee? And from a political perspective, does it make sense to nominate a Hispanic woman from Florida? Gayle, very quickly.
She's a trailblazer, and so if you're looking at a replacement for the seat of trailblazer Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Barbara Lagoa would be an excellent choice. She was the first female Hispanic on the Florida Supreme Court. She has vast experience at the state court level, which would be an interesting addition to the competency of the court. And she was the first female Hispanic on the 11th Circuit. And I think the most important thing to remember about her is when she was up for her Senate hearing for the Circuit Court, she was speaking about how her family fled from the totalitarian Cuban communist regime. And that strengthened her commitment that that we have a government of laws and not of men. And I think that is so inspiring to have that background and that commitment where it's interpreting the law and it's not trying to make the law. And so she would also be an excellent choice for this vacancy.
Now, Mitch McConnell has said that he will push for a vote by the end of the year. However, not all Republicans feel that vote should happen before the election. Republican Senator Susan Collins said she will vote against a Supreme Court nominee if it comes to the floor before the November election. Is there a double standard here, Carter, after what happened in 2016 when Republicans refused to move forward with Merrick Garland, then President Obama's Supreme Court nominee? Should they delay this vote until after the election?
I think there's only one standard, and the standard is the constitutional standard of what the authority of the president is and what the authority of the Senate is. And it's perfectly clear and utterly uncontroversial to say that the president has the authority to nominate someone and the Senate has the authority to act on that or not act on that. Mitch McConnell articulated his justification for why he chose not to act on it. But the fundamental reality is not what their arguments were, but rather did they act pursuant to their lawful authority? And the answer is yes. And after Mitch McConnell did, and the way we hold people accountable, by the way, for acting pursuant to their lawful authority, whether it's aggressive or passive, is through the political process. And Mitch McConnell expanded his majority in the Senate in 2018 in a year that was bad for Republicans after he held that seat open for a year. So Mitch McConnell's judgment that it was the right political choice was paid off with the expansion of the Senate, and he'll do so again here.
Yeah. Gayle, once President Trump announces his nominee, there'll be about 37 days left before Election Day. Sandra Day O'Connor was confirmed in 33 days, Ginsburg in 42. John Paul Stevens was confirmed in 19 days. Should the confirmation be accelerated to precede the election, particularly if that election could be thrown to the Supreme Court?
Yes, absolutely. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, when talking about the 2016 vacancy, said that it was better to have the court at full strength, particularly when there's a potential of breaking down 4-4. And like you said, John Paul Stevens, 19 days between nomination and confirmation. Sandra Day O'Connor, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, they were all confirmed in a number of days that's less than the amount of time that we have left to us now. And this is something that I think if you have one of these amazing women who are nominated by President Trump, I think you might hear a different story from Senator Collins and Senator Murkowski, because how are they going to stand in the way of these excellent legal jurists who are extremely well qualified and committed to the Constitution? And I think those senators are going to start hearing from their constituents if they haven't already. And this is something that the Senate could do.
Carter, I'm going to give both you and Gayle a minute here. Who do you think this appointment might be? Who might be nominated by the president? And do you believe they will be confirmed before the election?
So obviously, following the news, it looks like a very tight decision among a lot of wonderfully well-qualified candidates. And I mean, according to the media, it looks like Judge Barrett might have the momentum at this moment, but you really can't tell. I mean, a lot can happen between now and Saturday. There are a lot of considerations in play, and if I had to venture a guess, I would say that it might be Judge Barrett. I mean, I'm not objective, obviously. She's my friend and my colleague, and I hope she's great, but I think any of them would be great. And will they be confirmed? I think they will be confirmed because Mitch McConnell is the most effective leader of the Senate in my lifetime, and already has secured commitments from enough senators to hold the vote before the election.
Yeah, the votes are in place. Gayle, who do you think might be nominated?
Well, I did see something on Twitter saying that Tadina Cruzette was being considered. That I don't know if you saw that, but that was quite humorous trying to get in there because
that dark horse is gone, I'm afraid,
on that list. But I agree with Carter. I think it's leaning a little bit towards Judge Barrett right now. But I think all of the people on President Trump's short list are excellent, well-qualified jurists who would uphold the law, who would interpret the law, and I think President Trump can't go wrong. And this is a moment that really comes down to who President Trump wants to be his legacy.
Well, I'm betting everything on the New Orleans girl. I just say that with prejudice. We'll leave it there. Gayle Trotter, Carter Snead, thank you both for being here.
Great to be with you, Raymond.